All right, everybody, welcome to Devil Talks. On Devil Talks, we're going to be discussing topics involving crypto and politics involving crypto with like finances, new legal laws, um, really anything that we find interesting because we are devs, of course, on the Devil Crypto project. We thought this would be a great way to also kick off YouTube is if you get a face-to-face version of different devs, whether it's Mephisto, whether it's myself as Old Scratch, or with me tonight is Asmodeus. Um, great. It's a great way to, I think, connect with the community and to new people coming into this project, what we're all about. But really giving our perspective and philosophy long term and talking about certain topics and issues involving crypto. And for today's, we're going to be sort of discussing ICOs and IPOs, which actually is a really interesting topic. We break it down, the advantage of companies giving out their equity on the stock market versus companies starting their own coin to raise capital. And we want to kind of cover that idea of it. And the reason I wanted to cover this is I've been following, like most people, this insane Twitter and Elon Musk stuff. I mean, it's been getting way more crazy than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you know anything about that, Asmodeus? Do you want to share anything of what you know about that story?
Yeah. So the little things that I know is that I know he bought a whole bunch of stock. And I've been seeing some memes that it's like now that he has a good amount of stock, he's going to be, invited to meetings and stuff with Twitter, like board meetings and
Oh,
stuff.
he has.
And
He
so
already
there's
had.
memes all out there saying that, hey, like this guy is going to start like honing these guys, giving them crazy ideas and stuff like that. Like he, Elon Musk might be able to like change the game and change the face of what Twitter really is all about. So to be, or just to hear that he's now a part of the board like that, Twitter could change in a good, has a good bright future.
Well, I gotta cut in because there is a lot more information
Okay.
that I don't think you've heard yet, and this will tie in perfectly with this topic. So yes, you basically got that additional part right. So what happened was Elon Musk, who's a huge crypto advocate, which is why I want to cover this, came in one morning and bought pretty much like a 9.2% share of shares worth of Twitter.
Right.
And he became the largest shareholder in the company. So obviously, whether you know it or not, knowing business like we do, Twitter panicked. This was not good news necessarily.
Yeah.
Shareholders were happy, kind of, because the stock went up like very much, and so a lot of people made a bunch of money, including Elon. Elon was, I heard, made like I think 600 million in a couple hours from this buy. It was about $3 billion worth of a buy. So what happened was Twitter kind of gathered itself, right, and then not long after announced, hey, Elon Musk is going to join the board of directors of Twitter. What they're trying to do essentially is they don't want Elon Musk buying more of Twitter. They want to be like, hey, we're going to cap you out, let's say at 15% in your contract, but you're on the board of directors, you have a voice, you have 9% now, you could have 15% total, no problems asked, right? So they basically wanted to throw a contract at them because that protects themselves while at the same time keeping the stock up, making sure Elon doesn't just dump the stock. There's all these securities tied to it. Again, keep in mind everything I'm saying right now for anyone listening. And it was like a for sure thing. But then the day Elon was supposed to join, he announced not joining the board. Like, whoa. Twitter made an official statement that he was coming on. And now they're making an official statement that Elon said, no, I don't want to join you guys. So we're seeing like two sides of this, and it's getting really interesting.
Yeah.
And so if you're like me, what people think, at least is what I think. I'm a big Mad Men fan. Contracts can sometimes include legal stipulations of absorbing your shares if you violate the terms of your company. So meaning, let's say we had a contract together as Asmodeus, a video game development company. And me and maybe a few other members of our board were like, hey, you are in violation of your contract here. So what we're allowed to do is not only fire you, but absorb all your equity or most of your equity while firing you. And it's in a legal contract. Good luck suing us. I personally think there was something in there. I think based on what Elon talks about and says, this whole thing is not just economical, but it's like an insurance policy that he doesn't get censored on Twitter. Twitter's been really accused of censoring certain points of view politically. I mean, obviously, we know that Donald Trump got censored on January 6th. I'm not going to get into that. Whatever you think. But they haven't necessarily don't have the best reputation with freedom of speech and like you being allowed to say what you want to say.
Right.
And so yeah, censorship, literally. And so they have a bad, like, we're again, like, not to get into it personally, but like they just don't have the best reputation with that. And it's very clear that they don't. So people think Elon did this for like an insurance policy, stuff like that. And he was actually interested in joining the board. And I sense some hostility with the board of Twitter and Elon, nothing crazy, but just a little bit there. He does not want to enter into an agreement where he can lose his shares and his voice, because A, that's economically horrible, and B, that's not the move he's doing. He's trying to kind of beat the king here. That's essentially what he's doing. But it's not over. And I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I'm almost done.
You're good, man.
So, but this is where it gets interesting as a day. Today, like this morning, he comes back. Elon Musk goes, "Hey, I would like to buy all of Twitter for $40 to $50 billion, roughly." There's different reports. He said, "I'll raise the stock. It'll be about $54 a share." And he goes, "And by the way, this is non-negotiable." And you know what? I'm the largest shareholder in Twitter currently. So if I don't get this deal, I might just sell my stock. So he would tank the price.
Oh yeah.
That's what he said it in an orderly way. And like not in a really rude way, but that was what he literally said, like formally. And so of course Twitter's silent. They're like, "What the hell do we do? Like, what's going on?" And this is like causing all this buzz on the news today. But this is where it gets super interesting. So Elon is coming in with this, right?
Yeah.
But this is where it gets interesting. A few hours later, this was a few hours ago. It's like maybe 6-7 hours ago as we're talking. Vanguard, the investment company, comes in, becomes the largest shareholder of Twitter. They did a massive buy at like 10.2%, just a percent above Elon. So now there's like a bidding war for Twitter. This is like this weird war going on. And the reason I wanted to cover this is I'm thinking about like the difference between stocks and tokens from this point on. Tokens are still so new, I feel like, with crypto. What is the advantage of having a crypto coin and being a startup, and the disadvantage compared to stocks? Because like if you see this kind of drama, it's a little intense and a little crazy. I mean, if you're on the board of Twitter, this might not be great news. I mean, yeah, like you could become really rich and sell, but I really wanted to cover kind of like the difference of like having shareholders that have direct equity in your company, which is what that is, versus a coin.
Yeah.
A coin isn't direct equity, but it's still a powerful tool. It's pretty funny. I guess the example I want to bring up is if you're like a fan of the show Silicon Valley, there's a great episode where the Pied Piper is like, they're struggling to find investors, and one of them's like, "Hey, why don't we make our own cryptocurrency? Like that could be funny." And they have some investors already, or a few investors. And so when they make the cryptocurrency, they're like, "Hey," or like they're thinking about making the cryptocurrency. One of their investors is like, "What in the is wrong with you?" And they all freak out because it's like now they have, and this is what's very interesting to think about ICOs versus IPO. Like you kind of have some leverage against your shareholders at that point.
Right.
Like think about it. So you've got let's say Disney created a cryptocurrency. There's like a million reasons I could think why they wouldn't do it versus why they would do it. But let's say they have their own cryptocurrency. That would be a big middle finger to a bunch of the holders. Now, a bunch of crypto nuts like ourselves be like, oh, that's kind of cool, maybe, and maybe not. It depends how decentralized of a nut you are, like in terms of the philosophy. But what that would be is like you basically saying, hey, we have this cryptocurrency. It did this well in value. It made all this money, hundreds of millions of dollars, $20 million, billions of dollars, who knows, right? But a big company like that makes it, because what you're saying now is that, well, technically, if my shareholders threaten me in any way, or they want something to go a certain way,
Yeah.
I can just fall back on my cryptocurrency that I started. And so some shareholders find that really threatening, Wall Street guys. Then ICO, you don't own equity at all. You just own the currency.
Okay.
Now, that's still not nothing, right? It's still not nothing. A cryptocurrency, as we know, are powerful and very, very, very economically influential. We've seen that. But an IPO, you own equity. And generally, ICOs are going to be obviously be more risky than an IPO, or than an IPO, because it's a crypto coin. You really don't know where it's going to go. The market's super volatile already. I mean, we had a crash earlier this week,
right?
Like everywhere in crypto.
And you know what? To fill in that, I think I would actually, depending on the IPO, right? It is. I would consider it's hard to say. IPOs could also be a lot more riskier than ICOs because depending on how much, usually their shares are pretty expensive at the initial start. Well, yeah,
Depends.
It depends because I'm thinking of it like, say SpaceX goes as an IPO, right? Like that would be right there. Like
if they did, I'm
did,
sure they
right?
did at the time.
If SpaceX went and had an IPO, right? That would be, I'm assuming
been a good day.
A
good day for those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And the risk on that, you could lose a lot more than just investing into an ICO, right? Usually for the most part, initial currencies, they're not as expensive.
I see your point. Like you're more likely to get pennies on the dollar with an
Right.
ICO than an IPO. That's 100% true, like most of the time. But I still think it's a lot more risky
because of the trust and the easy pump and dump for sure. But I guess it just depends on how much you invest. That's, I always say going into investments, use play money. Make sure you have that money that's just like, hey, you lose it, So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and again, I want to think of this more as like, I'm not talking about like stocks versus crypto. I'm talking about like, you're a company. What is your capital? Where is your capital coming from? Is it a cryptocurrency that you start, or is it from the Silicon Valley investors that you get? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. Because the point is there's a very different message with both those things. Because if you have shareholders, they have a lot bigger of a voice versus your crypto crowd.
Right.
Now, that's the thing, right? Because it's like they don't own actual equity. But I also think that, and this is the thing when I've read a lot about ICOs versus IPOs, a lot of the articles written about this, they don't take into consideration that ICOs still have a voice. Like it's not nothing, it's a lot of money. Like when a lot of money is involved, you have a voice.
Right.
So, but like legally speaking, yeah, you have essentially no regulation, no voice from like a very literal and legal term, except now that we have our first Biden crypto executive order, which I've mentioned a few times on the YouTube channel already, and that Coyote and I talked about on the first episode of Devil Crypto News. Who knows how much that's going to change? It's just a little more regulation into crypto itself. But, I was just thinking like, I'm curious. I guess I'll just ask you this final question because I'll give my thoughts and then I'm just thinking here.
Yeah.
go over a little bit of this. ICOs, it's a lot to take in.
Oh yeah, it seems like it, man. You're like really
Yeah.
prepping on this one.
Okay, so for Devil,
Yeah.
we were kind of interesting in the fact of, I mean, we're basically an ICO. Like we had a product, we had a private sale where people got in early, we had a pre-sale where people got in early, and then we had our launch day. Like that's essentially an ICO.
Right.
But we were a little more interesting because we had dApps that were ready and launched the day we came out.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, like you said, it is just the white paper. I think that's changing a little. I think we're obviously seeing a little more projects that have like a product and then still do the private and pre-sale route. But one of the interesting things I would say about ICOs is, we're talking about the wild west of investing, even with this Biden executive order.
Mm-hmm.
We were just, what I mentioned earlier about the Twitter thing, like the contract with Elon, if he was going to join the board, would have said something like, hey, like you have to be capped at how many shares you can acquire.
Mm.
And I'm not like saying that like Twitter's ridiculous in thinking that. It makes a ton of sense. Twitter doesn't want to lose all their voting power to one person. Like it makes complete sense where they're coming from, whether you are a huge Elon fan or not. Like it totally makes sense. With an ICO, it's a lot harder to regulate how much currency someone, the developer, your community, what they can buy. Whales have caused problems for people in the past where they'll buy a bunch, raise the price, sell immediately, right? What helps a little is like governance dApps, which we have, but it's closed because we want more voting power outside of the whales.
Right.
But it's a little like, I guess where I'm so conflicted is because I'm a huge investing guy in general. Like I love DeFi and I love centralized finance also. Like I own stock in different companies.
Right.
And I'm curious what you think, because for me, I really see crypto long term being super powerful for the new companies that are coming out. What's going to be the next Apple? What's going to be the next Microsoft? And will they ever go public? Or will they only rely on crypto to get them there? It's not that crazy to think about how much money is poured into crypto right now. So I'm curious, do you think ICOs will end up, or even now, being better than IPOs? Do you really see that? Or do you think IPOs will always probably be better because a little bit of centralization is always good? And, it's real, or is it like, look, it's the best of both worlds?
Right. So honestly, we've come to a point, I think we're getting to a point where these companies are just behemoths, right? We got Amazon, Microsoft, Google. So we got these companies that are just so massive right now that they have so many parent companies with them, right? We got Amazon owning Whole Foods, right? We got freaking a whole bunch of companies owning more companies, right? So I think what happened is that IPOs, I think, will definitely be a thing for any company growing, right? But ICOs for sure. Like the moment one company, I like Amazon a lot just because of how powerful it is. The moment a company like with that kind of a status and influence in the economy goes and does something with crypto that just revolutionizes something, if we talk about, well, Amazon, right? For instance, like we're on the topic with Amazon. They were doing a deal, like a smart contract with a crypto. I'm gonna look it up really quick.
Is it through like their gaming department? Because I know they have Lumberyard.
Well, the thing is, they were going this crypto. I'm gonna pull it up real quick. VeChain. This crypto was investing in like technology that can pretty much scan any object, or like pretty much scan anything and give you like the raw materials of what it is, right? So now think about that kind of technology that crypto is investing in. and
Sure.
Amazon, building a smart contract with that. Products is what it is at the end of the day, right? You have something like that happen and it successfully goes with it, right? You start having more and more and more people looking into crypto, right? It gets a whole bunch of like attention.
Again,
Uh-huh.
you raise your capital without giving up your equity.
Right.
That's the freaking advantage, and that is a good advantage to have. That's right. That is a very nice advantage to have if you're
Exactly.
a private company.
Exactly. So with that, you get all that stuff going well for you for a company like that. Yeah, heck yeah, dude. ICOs will then start popping up left and right for sure. You start seeing companies partnering up with these cryptos. And
Sure.
we already see Bitcoin with a couple, like you already see like Bitcoin working with a couple of major companies right now. Just take Tesla a while back, right? Tesla was saying, hey, you can buy a car with Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
You start seeing this happening, dude, I'm for sure gonna tell you that we'll definitely start seeing ICOs a lot more than a lot better, right? A lot more
A lot
effective.
more mainstream and a lot more like that's the new normal. I
Exactly.
think that's what you're saying. Yeah.
One thing I'll say, dude, I don't see this happening anytime soon, but I can tell you that it's definitely gonna happen like in the long term. Maybe give it 10 years, 100%.
We'll still be here.
Definitely.
Yeah, like long term, like that's the way I honestly think it. I think when it comes to crypto, people always think short term, but I think you should just think long term, like any other investment.
Mm.
Like that's what we think. Who knows? Like I think long term is key. I think you're right.
Crypto for sure right now, dude, is gonna be definitely the long-term game. 100%. That any smart investor in crypto can tell you that for sure. Are we seeing
Right.
a lot of like action right now? Oh, definitely, dude. Especially with the whole bull run on crypto a year ago.
Right. That's why people think short term though, is exactly that. It's because the bull runs that happen are so freaking crazy and good
Yeah,
sometimes in such a shocking way, but that doesn't mean that you should not only think short term when it comes to crypto. Think
right.
like really long term.
100%.
Seriously.
But like I said, the moment companies start really taking it seriously with cryptos, oh, dude, that'll change the whole game of everything.
Sure.
All it takes is for companies like these guys to start really implementing it. That's all we're waiting for, really, to really get crypto into the public hand and be able to be like, you want to do something with crypto? We'll show you, once these products are in your hands, and it was all because of a cryptocurrency, dude, people are going to be noticing that like, wow, like, yeah, this is the moment life is going to change, right? So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think like just to add one more thing, like, companies right now like Apple and Disney and Netflix, like I don't necessarily see them launching their own tokens or anything like that, at least not anytime soon. But I mean, I do see them adding crypto to their like consumer ecosystem so
right,
that people can use crypto and interact with their products, whether
yeah,
it's purchasing them, stuff like that. That is becoming a lot more mainstream, especially with NFTs, which is interesting to say the least. But I do have to add one more thing to give IPOs some credit. I would say the one thing you can get really well with IPOs that you can't get with ICOs is the people that invest in your startup after you have a bit of a product ahead of you. They're experts in your field and they can guide you on how to grow the company
ooh,
as your
yeah,
investors.
you're right,
That is an advantage,
you're absolutely
certainly.
right.
Right. I mean, ICO is filled with tons of different types of people that have bought this thing, and that's great, right? And they all have advice and critiques and thoughts to give, but you're still not getting like like, here's the thing, you're a tech company. Odds are the people investing in you are also a tech company
Right.
that work in your field,
in other
and
words,
they're
you
going to
have
guide
that,
you along the way.
yeah, you have the security of knowing that your people, your investors are real investors. You have people that actually care about your initial, like, I mean, your startup, right?
Sure.
You don't have, you know, not to bash on anything, but you don't have like a possible 5-year-old, you know, investing in your startup and
Mentally.
exactly, like you don't have, you don't run that risk on as a startup,
Sure.
right? As an entrepreneur initially starting up your company, as an IPO, you don't have that risk of having like children investing in your company, right? You have people that are really invested in you and saying, hey, look, I'm gonna put in whatever you're asking for and actually guide you and help you and give you my
But they know your business.
exactly.
That's the thing. They know,
Yeah,
I understand this tech they're making. Yeah,
Mhm.
I could show, I believe in it. So economically, I want to make a bunch of money from a profit standpoint, but like also I understand it. So if they struggle, I could literally tell them what they should do.
And some of these people
Right.
have already experienced with other startups that could even be similar, right?
Sure.
They could even have like, hey man, we seen this, you know, where this company went wrong, so we'll want to help you out. Like it's I think IPOs best benefit is that the security of understanding who your investors are.
100% agree
I
with
think
that.
that's the most important
Absolutely.
why the IPOs is, I say, are still going to be a thing.
Yeah, I don't think they're going away. I'm just really curious on how big ICOs starting these startups is going to be. Like, I'm really curious if we're going to get like really big billion-dollar companies that never go public. Like, as crazy as that sounds, like I don't think it's that unbelievable.
No, I don't think so either.
That would be incredible.
That'd be nice. Actually, I mean, it would help a lot of people out, you know, who's trying to do a startup with pennies, right? And
oh, sure.
try to blow up.
And there's a lot more to this than that. You know, oversaturation, as we mentioned at the beginning, is horrible. That doesn't help.
Yeah.
And scammers, you know, like people are just so not trustworthy of crypto projects right now because of all the amount of like BS that's happening, which, you know, I get. But you know, you got to have a little faith and just be willing to be patient and take a risk on good projects. You know, it takes time. It just does. Well, yeah. I mean, you have any final thoughts on that? That's all I got on ICOs versus IPOs.
Oh man, that's all I got too, man.
All right, perfect. Well, Asmodeus, thank you very much. We'll definitely be doing this again on another topic. For anyone interested, we're going to keep these kind of things going. I don't know if we'll have a schedule necessarily, but I think we'll just throw one out whenever we feel like it. Devil Crypto News, you could check out live on the YouTube channel every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Please tune in for that. It's a really great show, really great way to learn valuable information and just to have fun. For this series, I'm going to have like Mephisto and Diabolus jump in at some point too. Even our Devil Crypto News host, Coyote, like we're all going to be coming in at certain points talking. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications because we're going to have content coming soon. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in.
Hey, thanks everybody.